I have just a short video that I want to talk about a topic on the surface that may seem, why does this apply to exercise, sports science, nutrition science? Well, just give me a chance to explain myself. I'll keep it short and I'll keep it brief. I won't go down any rabbit trails like I usually do. By the way, I'm Jason Miller, PhD, Dr. Miller, I guess. I can't save anybody unless it's indirectly through barbell use. So just keep that in mind. Subscribe to my channel, by the way, if you haven't already. And be sure to like this video if you end up liking it. I'm up to 110 subscribers at the time of this video. Not a big deal in the world of YouTube, of course, but it's a big deal to me. And I appreciate each and every one of you. Spread the word, share these videos. Check out the library of ever-growing library of topics, journal clubs, book clubs, and so on. All right, so let's talk about reductionism and the problem that it promotes and the problem in research and not using it. Okay, let me explain. You're like, what the heck is reductionism? Why do I care? Again, just give me a chance. So you may have noticed many times that the training you're doing, or if you're coaching others, training others, what's in the research literature a lot of times may not match the outcomes that you're seeing when you train people. Or sometimes when you adopt a research article's outcome, if it's an original research article in particular, you may notice that it doesn't apply to your population. And of course, there's some fundamentally obvious things here, like, well, maybe you took a study that was done in 80-year-old men and you tried to apply it to 15-year-old women, right? 15-year-old girls, right? And so, of course, that's an issue, right? So there's population mismatch, overgeneralizing results, so on. What I want to get is the problem and it's hard for researchers too. So this is not a ripping on research. It's just something you have to remember is that this idea of reductionism. So, for example, if you want to look at if squat strength promotes faster speed or greater running velocities and let's say lower 40 times, okay? So you're trying to improve velocity, speed if you don't want to go with the vector version, blah, blah, blah. I won't go down that route. You could do your squat workout and lo and behold, the individuals did squat workout faster, and the ones that didn't squat, they didn't see any improvements in speed. So you could correctly surmise that squat work, some sort of doing the squat that you did and however you did it, produced better running velocity, okay? However, what if you found out later that the group of individuals that were squatting also were on anabolic steroids, right? And again, that's an extreme example, but I'm just trying to give this idea of that many times in research, we have to boil down, or you typically boil down the variable that you want to interact with to one thing, or the construct, to one variable you want to interact with. So if I said strength in this case, or improving running velocity, well, that can include many things. It could include mobility, flexibility, joint stiffness, fiber type. There's a lot of things that encompass. In other words, it's a complicated thing, and something simple as why do some people run faster than others? And certainly squatting, getting stronger, is a factor. But what if somebody has been lifting weights for many, many years and they're already really strong? Does somebody who's already strong, does that matter? Or does just getting stronger, period, produce better running velocities, and how much, right? You can understand how complicated these questions get. And so when we look at a study and we say, okay, I'm boiling it down to squat strength makes people run faster. Okay, that's a reductionist approach. And again, in research, it's hard not to do that. It's hard not to take into account, or try to say, I'm going to control everything about a diet. This is why like rat studies are more prominent, right? Is because you can control everything. The rats don't go home to their family, or had a bad day, or failed a test, or eat too many cheese puffs when they shouldn't have, right? The rats do what they're told. The rats are confined. Rats are controlled. Their emotions are roughly the same, right? They're the same species, etc. And so they behave the same. All right. In human beings, that's not true. But it's the interaction with our environment and others, and the psychology of what we do, and of course, nutrition and training interactions, stress, right? The environment, all these different things that are going to determine the outcome of a particular approach. So, doing that back squat workout may be more complicated than just the squat work. Now, you're trying to say, what did the other group do that the other group didn't? So the one group squatted and one group didn't. So therefore, it must be the squat work that produced the result. But even in a study like that, that's even if it was a randomized controlled trial, right? So in other words, there's a control group, the people were randomized in each group, they're the same, et cetera. And even the researchers were blinded and didn't know who was doing what when they timed them and all this good stuff. You still are not completely sure if it was a squat program that did it. What if it was just improving ankle mobility through squatting? What if it was just squatting, all it did was a weighted dorsiflexion improvement? And that's what I'm just saying. I'm making crap up here, but I think you get the point. Diet, and that's just training science. Nutrition science is even worse. especially when you start introducing correlation studies into the mix and things like that. It's hard to say that A plus B equals C when A sub 2, sub 3 plus or minus L plus B sub 1, sub 2, sub 3, sub 4 minus H, and all these variables could be age, it could be the sex of the individual, it could be their previous dietary habits, it could be their training status, it could be when they eat, it could be what they ate the day before, it could be if they're not sleeping, it could be, it's a complicated mess. And so when trying to direct yourself in terms of what is quote unquote true, you're going to have to do a lot of legwork. And I guess is what my final statement on this is: read the research literature, read research, read review studies, look at meta-analyses, which are not perfect either. People have elevated those to like some sort of mythical level, I think, in some cases, and they're prone to error too. There's still a selection process to get the research, and you still need to go see what the studies were, right? I'm not saying they're not valuable, because I like them to read them too, but we still have to use our brain, and that's my final word, is use your brain. We have disregarded, we become so dependent on the research literature in many cases that we cannot think for ourselves anymore. And that has posed a real problem when it comes to training and nutrition science. I'm not saying you shouldn't value the research literature. That would be a huge mistake. But what I am saying is that I'm fond of saying that science is a skill, right? You have to be able to conduct a scientific study in such a way that's skillful, and it's not going to be perfect, but then you have to consume scientific literature in a skillful manner. In other words, you have to have your brain on the whole time. We've devalued our own ability to critically think to the point that we're taking these reductionist studies and we're saying that these small, major, and the minor studies are quote unquote the truth, and that we come out in the real world though and we find out, well, that doesn't seem to fit really well with what I'm really seeing. Well, it's because the study completely removed all the interactor variables that were the real drivers of the outcome that you expected or didn't get, right, in the study. Well, this doesn't work because this, and this. Well, yeah, but you manipulated the variables away that were interacting with one another. That's difficult to do in research, by the way. I'm not knocking research. What I am saying, it's on us as the readers. It's on us as the consumers of research literature, and nutrition science especially, to look at these articles in the light of other articles and not just run away with one article and turn it into a whole concept that we're going to anchor everybody's nutrition on. That is a mistake. That is a mistake. I'm fond of saying there's only one dietary piece of advice that I am 100% sure of, and that is eat fruits and vegetables. That's it. Protein's a close second. Like, get your protein intake up, but even for some people that may not be a good idea. Fruits and vegetables, though, I can't think of unless there's a specific fruit or vegetable, like something high in vitamin E and somebody has cancer or something like that. But unless there's a specific example like that, like one of these generalized dietary approaches, the best thing I can get is eat as much fruits and vegetables as possible. I didn't say you only eat fruits and vegetables, because that's not going to be appropriate for some people. Nor is it going to be practical, but I'm just saying eat as many fruits and vegetables per day as you can. Other than that, everything else, almost everything else in nutrition, other than don't eat some of these poisons, right, that we know are poisons, are up for debate. And that's going to require critical thinking skills and understanding that research is done in a reductionist fashion. And that's why you're seeing many times these conflicting study outcomes and trying to figure out what the heck's going on, is because they reduced away some of the interacting variables. Don't be afraid to trust your eyes. As long as you're doing research with your eyes, that makes sense. And that's hard to do because we all have biases. We all want to just say, well, this works because I think it should. That's not conduct. But if I'm trying things with athletes, okay, I'm trying a new training approach and I'm making note of what's going on, and it may defy what the common research literature says. I'm getting better outcomes than when I was doing something else. Then in this population I'm working with, whoever that is, or that individual, they're getting better results as a result of this type of training. And it's okay to say, you know what, this is working. I don't need to go embrace the research literature, as long as I'm not hurting somebody, of course, but embrace the research literature and try to do what some reductionist study said. But there's error bars in studies. There's error bars in data points for a reason. That means there's variability in the sample. Don't forget that. Okay. I'm getting off topic. I said I wouldn't. It's at 10 minutes. I hope you found this valuable. It was a little bit of a rant. maybe it wasn't valuable, maybe it was. But if you did find it valuable, like this video, and I will see you in the next one.